Adequate notice of this meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 6, 2014. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspapers posted on public bulletin boards and the township website.
At this time, I'll remind everyone to please turn off your cell phones, and I will ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here.
Councilman Mumalo.
Here.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Here.
Vice President Fosman.
Here.
President Leidecker.
Here. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and our moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please take your seat. And I'll now advise our clerk to please accept and file the reports.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And I need a motion and second to approve the minutes of the August 26th and September 9th meetings.
Motion.
Second. Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
I abstain from the August 26th meeting and yes to September 9th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any one item, that will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Is there anything that needs to be removed? Okay. Moving on, resolution number 1, recognize Unico flag raising event. Brick Unico is part of the National Service Organization of the Italian Americans that work to promote and enhance the image of Italian Americans, to promote their heritage and culture. They are having a flag raising ceremony October 4th here at Town Hall at 10 o'clock. So if everyone would like to come out, it's going to be a beautiful day for a flag raising ceremony. Number 2, comments and recommendations of the audit. This is for our 2013 audit. It was done by the Fallon firm, and this resolution requires the governing body of every local unit to make the annual report of its books, of the accounts and financial transactions. We did have one recommendation. They noted that the interfund balances exist at year end, and we need to improve the control over that balance. Yes, Ms. DeYoung.
Council President, I just have a quick question for the business administrator. What exactly does that mean? I see it's from 2012.
Many times, most grants that we secure are reimbursement grants. Pretty much all of them are. So at the end of the year, if you have not been reimbursed for the projects that you're working on, our CFO has to create an interfund in order to make sure that we have expended the money accordingly while we're still waiting for the reimbursement. This is particularly true with the FEMA grants and everything that we've been through with FEMA. The reimbursements take some time, so interfunds were created as required to make sure that we knew we were anticipating that money, but we're expending it appropriately. So the interfunds were necessary. It's just part of how we do business, but the auditor doesn't like to see those, and we did have a significant amount in the interfund because of the Sandy reimbursements.
So this is never actually going to go away. It's going to be an action item on every year's audit, pretty much, because we have to wait for that grant money to come in.
It's not a new item on our corrective action plan, no.
Okay.
And yes, with grants, you're always going to be reimbursed, and it's very rare that that happens within the calendar year unless it's a very small project.
Okay. Number 3, accepting the 2013 corrective action plan. We just have to pass the resolution that says we recognize it and we will work to rectify it. Number 4, authorize acceptance of the 2014 Essential Services Grant. If you recall, 2 budgets ago, we were able to insert $5 million in grant money that we received because of Superstorm Sandy. Last year, we received over $3 million from that same grant, and this year we will have it again, and we'll apply for it next year as well. We are receiving $3.75 million to be inserted into our budget through this grant. Number 5, authorize grant application 2015 local arts program for the Recreation Department. We are applying to get a grant application for $10,000, $5,000 matching and $5,000 from them. And this grant will offset the costs for our cultural arts and concert series in the fall. Number 6, authorized grant application, airport tracked bikeway expansion project. In this, I just want to read off the area that it covers. If we happen to get the money and are able to do the project, it will connect Hooper Avenue to Cherry Quay Road, then bring the bicyclists back through the Edmund Hibbard Basketball Park to the airport tracked bikeway that ends on Drum Point Road. So we just want to make our community a little more safer and a little more, make it better for bicyclists, so you don't necessarily have to drive your car all the way across the town. Number 7, authorized grant application, Lake Riviera Area Roadway Improvement Project Phase 2. We are looking to get monies to cover Essex Drive, Huxley Drive, Pine Tree Drive, Arizona Drive, and Virginia Drive. So hopefully that will come through. It'll save us some money on our roadway projects in the next budget. Number 8, authorized applications, post-Sandy Planning Assistant grants. There are 11 action items that we are requesting grant money for, and the total is for $470,000. The thing about getting this Sandy grant money in is that we can administer the programs in-house. We have to hire contractors that will, and companies and professionals that will work with our employees here in Town Hall to get the programs in place. So that's why we have to go out for a grant to get this money. Number 9, authorized Chapter 159, Office of Emergency Management Grant 2014. The State of New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety is giving us $14,506.59. This is offsetting the cost of radios purchased for our essential communications. Number 10, authorized award of alternative process contract, EMS ambulance modifications. This is being awarded to New Jersey Emergency Vehicles to provide ambulance modifications to the public safety EMS ambulance in the amount of $29,925. This is the explanation I received, but I think Councilman Mumolo might be able to better explain it. To replace the existing 12-volt module climate control unit, I guess this is the climate control for the back of the ambulance, and it's a part that goes underneath it to control the temperature and the climate in the back of the rig.
Well said.
Right?
Well said.
All right.
Couldn't say it better.
Thanks. Authorize award of contract, employee dental program being awarded to Delta Dental. Nothing new. We reward that to them. We have a good working relationship and very decent prices for us. It's at the rate of $6.40 per employee per month for the year, for the first year, and $6.50 per employee per month for year number 2. Number 12, authorized change order number 1, Drum Point Sports Complex Field Maintenance Project. The contract is issued to Bob Versma and Sons to be increased by $3,159.52, and this is for extra topsoil and sod to complete the field. Number 13, authorized shared service agreement with the MUA for our snowplow service. The great thing about this contract is that when they are available and we do call upon them, their rates are much cheaper than the regular contractors that we go out to bid for. So it is their regular wage. Councilman Fosman, did you want to add anything to this
No,
contract?
that's fine. You explained it very well.
Thank you. It'll actually save us a lot of money having these different shared services with the MUA. Number 14 had a small revision in it, and I would like Mr. Starkey to please explain this.
Yes, thank you, Council President. This resolution relates to the solar project up on Salliac Road on the township landfill. That's going to start producing electrical energy sometime around the beginning of October to the township. And in order to make that happen, we need to contract with a third-party energy company to manage that, make sure the power gets from electric supply into the grid and to the township, and to ensure an uninterrupted supply of electrical power to the township and to the MUA. What the council is going to be doing tonight is authorizing an agreement for that with 2 different companies. And the reason we're doing that is we're going to be getting proposals from both of those companies in the next few days. pricing proposals. And we want to be in a position to select the best deal for the township, the most cost savings. So you're authorizing, you will be authorizing South Jersey Energy Company and Con Edison Solutions to submit proposals for that. We will then select one of those companies based on, primarily on the price, to provide those services.
Thank you. Anything to add, Mayor?
Sure, thank you. I just want everybody to know that this actual project, so everybody knows, it's off of Sally Ike Road. It used to be called the French's Landfill. And it was a contaminated site, had to be capped, and then what do you do with it? Because now you have a capped site. So the solar fields going onto this contaminated site, in theory, great thing. It's turning a brown field into a green field. It's an awesome project. However, the financial deal, not great, not even good. The deal is, I guess it's the best we could do with what we had left. My first year on council in June of 2012, with some of the people who are up there now, we were able to craft a better deal. The original deal and the current deal is so bad, it only leases the land for the solar operator where the actual solar panels are. Exactly that land, nothing else. So when you drive by, you see right now it's wildflowers, which is nice. During the summer, it was weeds, wasn't great. That is all not leased to the solar people. That part of the land, which is these very, very steep slopes, is actually the township's responsibility, which to me doesn't make any sense. If they're going to take care of the property, let them take care of the property. Now we have to cut weeds, and we have equipment, and if the equipment touches the solar panels, who's responsible? So we have that's a big problem. Not only that, but they're so steep, as I said, our guys don't have the equipment to go up these steep hills. So we had Ken Mathis, he went out and he found a piece of equipment from Sweden. That's how long we've been looking for things. And that piece of equipment cost $50,000. That's basically a remote control lawnmower. The problem is there's no parts for this particular lawnmower. And the thing's going to have to run so often that it's going to break a lot, assuming, probably no matter how great it's made. So that we're not going to buy a 50,000 piece of equipment that's going to break and there's no parts to repair it and nowhere here in the United States to repair it. So we have to hire an outside contractor to take care of the landscaping at this site. It's just one of the many, many things that were overlooked in this deal. Like I was saying, in June of 2012, myself and the other council members, we approved a great amendment. And last week I told everybody, here's a little preview. Mr. Scott was up here. I said, here's a little preview. It's going to be about $1 million that we lost. Well, I underestimated the financial impact on the town. The bond sale has happened, and because our June 2012 amendment was never signed by the former mayor, it never took effect. As soon as I took office in January of 14, I did sign it immediately. But because it was June of 12 when we originally passed it as a council and so much time had lagged, the redeveloper was able to legally speak with our attorney, and it was not going to be able to be held up, the fact that I signed it a year and a half later. So here's the total. We are out, as a town, we are out of pocket $2,627,019. And I just want to thank Mr. Baumann and Mr. Jessup, they're our redevelopment attorneys, for what they did in renegotiating for our lower electrical rate that we are receiving. But that's all that could be done with what was left of this agreement that unfortunately was never signed, and we had to go back to that original agreement, which really was for $2.5 million up front that plugged the budget way back in 2011. So it's a lot of money. We actually, the deal that we had made was going to make double of what that original deal was, but never signed and cost us a lot of money. Thanks.
Thank you. Number 15, authorize termination of the energy supply contracts Hudson and South Jersey Energy. Because, Mr. Starkey, would you like to?
Yes, thank you, Council President. We, because we're entering into the new agreement, which was in resolution number 14, we've got to terminate the current agreement we're in. And I do want to point out there is a termination fee that is not to exceed $20,000 for the township to get out of this. There's also going to be a termination fee for up to $10,000 to the MUA to get out of there on a similar basis. And I would also like to give thanks to Mr. Jespin, Mr. Bauman, the redevelopment attorneys for the township. They were able to just this afternoon negotiate with the redeveloper to have that cost, the $20,000 for the township, the $10,000 for the MUA, to be paid for by the redeveloper, not by the township. So I think that's it's a successful negotiation on that front.
Good news, good job. Thank you. Number 16, authorize appointment of the emergency management coordinators. As you know, we do have the Office of Emergency Management, and we do have the designated appointees. They are the Chief of Police to act as the Emergency Management Coordinator, and Joseph Palowitz and Joseph Gilson has been designated as by the Chief as Deputy Emergency Management Coordinators. It's a 3-year term, and this is what the state requires, that it's done in 3-year intervals. Number 7, authorized transfer of trailer camp licenses for Pinewood. There's a trailer camp here in town, and it was bought from one person bought it from the other owner. And we do have some conditions in here. They need to file a deed for the lots, and they need to get that copy submitted to the assessor. And there's a few things that they need to do to meet the requirements to have that license transferred. Number 18, authorized 2014-15 taxi cab business renewals. A is Ace Taxi Service, B, Brick Taxi, C, Laurel Transportation, D, Leisure Hack, E, Nantiloking Taxi. Number 19, authorized tax liens for property cleanups, Public Works. The properties are 144 Van Ar Drive, 72471, 412 North Lake Shore Drive in the amount of $98.77, and 545 James Road in the amount of $272.64.
Council President?
Yes, ma'am.
One quick question on 418.
Mhm.
For Maniloking Taxi, I know that in the past that there's been some complaints from neighbors and whatnot.
There have been multiple complaints but actually in 2014, we have not had any. I
That was
checked
my
with
question.
the clerk and code enforcement, and there have not been any complaints. They are in compliance with everything that we've asked of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I know when I saw that, that was the first email I shot out. Number 20, bond releases A to Rahul Shab. He posted a surety company site improvement performance bond for $99,939.24 and a cash performance bond of $11,104.36 to guarantee site improvements. The engineer said everything was completed, and we are returning his money in full. B, Christie Shea Construction, Samuel Reynolds, posted a cash performance bond for $5,376 for site improvements. And again, the engineer said everything is finished to return his money. C, the assistant township engineer notified the clerk by letter that there is $430 remaining in the engineering inspection fund for Lake Real Estate Brick. The property has been transferred, so we're returning the original $430 to the original applicant. D, assistant township engineer notified the clerk that there was $989.52 remaining in the engineering inspection fund from Robert Lazinski. And his project has wrapped up. I'm sorry, it's not wrapped up. It was transferred to another person, so we're returning his inspection money. 21A, tax collector. They were overpayments for taxes of 2014. The first property is 13 Tudor Court for $631.31, and the second property is 160 Clay Circle for $1,008. B, tax overpayments due to state appeals being granted for 2014 at 604 Winding River Road for $581.60. C, tax overpayments for 2011 from state appeals being granted for 165 Brick Boulevard for $13,608.26. D, these are a 7-page list of tax overpayments for the year 2014 due to the county board appeals being granted. And last but not least, we had a quick addition yesterday afternoon, resolution number 22, support actions to terminate the redevelopment agreement of the former Food Town site. And I would like the mayor to please address this.
Thank you. Over 11 years ago, we bought this, what's known as the Food Town site. That was way back in 2003. Over 4.5 years ago, there was a redevelopment agreement that was entered into. And I'm not willing to wait 11 years or even 4 years to see if something is going to happen or not. I'm 9 months into my first year as being mayor. And so on September 15th of this year, I instructed Mr. Baumann, who's now sitting to my left here, to write a letter. He's our redevelopment attorney, to write a letter to the redeveloper and basically saying the project has been stalled for many years due to their position that the redevelopment plan must be amended to eliminate the requirement for a hotel on the property. They failed to deposit their sum of $100,000 with the escrow agent. And they failed to meet all the deadlines and obligations as set forth in sections 2.05 AI through A1 through 7. And I am unwilling to allow this valuable asset to sit and remain undeveloped while we expend millions of dollars to service the debt that we borrowed to buy the property, and we're also losing millions more on unrealized ratables. So I authorized Mr. Baumann to write this letter, letting them know they are in default. They didn't, I mean, it's a $7 million deal. They never even paid the $100,000 deposit. And they failed to meet all deadlines and obligations. I apologize for having it added late, but I thought it was important that it would come before the council. So I'm pleased asking for your support and joining me asking for this notice of default to go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Baumann?
I'm just here for, you probably see those press conferences where the mayor says, on the vice's council, I can't speak any further. Well, I'm council. And so I'm here partly to apologize to the public. We're entering into a new era time with the developer, a period of dispute. And so I have advised the mayor and the council that during this period of dispute, they're not to speak publicly about this matter to the extent that I've reviewed it and approved it. It's really designed entirely to protect the taxpayers. They have a fiduciary responsibility to you. So we're going to be careful about what we say. The only thing I will also add is we certainly did give the developer the opportunity to go away without a dispute. We suggested they make an offer that involved the termination of the agreement on an amicable basis, and they declined to make that offer. So we didn't move to this step lightly, without deliberate thought and consideration with the mayor and the council and his advisors. But that's where we are now. So going forward, there won't be a lot of comment while we're in the dispute period. But rest assured, this was not our first choice. Our first choice was to have it and both parties move on amicably so that the Brick could have a clean slate to move forward on this property. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is the end of our consent agenda. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Morse, seconded by Council Vice President Bosman. I'm going to open to council for comments and questions first.
I just want to say, with that, regarding the Food Town site, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for stepping up and getting that done.
Thank you. And now we will open to public on the consent agenda only. Yes, Mr. Gross.
Richard Gross, I have a question with regards to number 14.
Yes, sir.
At the present time, I believe that there are chemicals that can remove, kill weeds. Could that not be used at the solar area?
I can handle it.
Yes.
Actually, anything we do there in terms of weed control has to be approved by the EPA. Any type of substance that could get into the ground is not going to be approved by them because it is a Superfund site. It's under remediation. There's well monitoring that's occurring so that we can prove to the EPA that it's getting cleaner, not worse, and they consider that a hazardous substance. So the use of chemicals to address the weeds is not something that the EPA is going to sign on.
Thank you. The second question is, you have a situation where the solar panels are horizontal. Now, what happens in the snow when they get covered? Do we lose that power? As compared to some of the solar panels like we have outside that are statued.
Well, the solar developer will make his priority to be sure that they're fully operational.
Say that again.
The solar developer will be sure that they are operating to the full capacity. They make sure they are maintained, whether it's weeds that are growing below, to be sure that they're not covered, and they'll do the same when it comes to snow. So that's not our responsibility, the township, not at least for the first 15 years. It is the solar company's responsibility.
Thank you, I hope.
Would anyone else like to speak on the consent agenda? Mr. Scott?
Madam President, could we
Yes,
go
sir.
back in time and maybe get some sheep? Have some sheep out there and do the number? Good idea, right?
Or some goats or something?
Goats, sheep, a dozen,
You
2
can
dozen of
rent
those.
them out now.
That's been bounced around, so we got to think of something because it's going to cost a lot of money.
I think
There
that
are
would work.
companies that rent them,
You
yes.
think that'll work? I'm all for favor, I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Scott, you're up.
Okay. I'm going to take the easy ones first. 415. I had a question which I asked the business administrator, and she didn't have an answer. It wasn't in her bailiwick, which was forwarded on to Mr. Starkey. And I had spoken to Kevin about this for this $20,000. Just shortly before the meeting, and he announced that the attorney for redevelopment did reach somewhat of a settlement where they're going to pick up the tab for this, that's all well and good for me. Where is this contract? Have any of you seen this contract? Because I'd like to know where they come up with the number one. Even though that we're not going to pay it, that's going to be his responsibility. But the new contract had a similar clause in it, which I guess is an industry-wide thing. And all it says, at the termination of a contract, you will get an invoice. It doesn't say based on what the number is. There's no fixed amount. So I would like to see that contract. I don't care, who's paying for it, but it's got to be around someplace.
Okay.
On 422, I'm glad that that it's going this way. My question is, even though, you're going to be talking about litigation and whatnot, when the redevelopment was even talked about at the beginning with other people than yourselves up there, I didn't think it was wise that the council acted as the agency, but that was the choice, and that's the road that they went down. What I don't understand with what's happening tonight, the mayor takes it upon himself to send out this letter, and I think it was a good thing, for sending out a notice of default. But you guys are the redevelopment agency. Why isn't this coming from you? The attorney works for the redevelopment agency. We have a lawyer for the town. He is the lawyer for you. I don't understand how the horse is going before the cart.
Mr. Baumann, do you want to come back up and address that?
Okay.
Yes, she'll stop the clock.
So there's some confusion in what is the redevelopment agency. There is no redevelopment agency. There's a redevelopment entity under the law. An agency would be a separate body. We didn't create one in Brick.
No,
The re-
Brick did. Brick actually made the council the agency.
No, they made the council the redevelopment entity. It's an important distinction in the law. I understand what you're saying. It's an important distinction. A redevelopment agency is a separate independent agency you can create.
Okay.
The redevelopment entity, which has the same powers, is when the council takes it upon themselves.
Okay.
In that instance, it's Brick that is the redevelopment entity, and just like this form of government, the mayor is in charge of negotiating the contracts, and the council is in charge of approving them. So the respective powers of the two, the administration and the council, doesn't change, but together they become the redevelopment entity. So my client is the Township of Brick, neither the mayor nor the council. I represent the corporation, which is the Township of Brick, and the mayor continues to negotiate the contracts. That's why it's his duty to call default, and the council continues to be the legislative body under this form of government. So that's the precise answer to your question, I think.
Okay, I'll accept that. Can I ask, and I don't know, the previous redevelopment entity had taken upon themselves, when we demolished the building over there, they left that as an open-ended number. I would have only assumed from what you had briefly said that part of your amicable dissolution of this was to come to some kind of a number, which we never got. Have we gotten a number for that
No,
at
you've
all?
correctly characterized the entire situation.
Okay, and we don't have an answer to that? I didn't think so. Okay, thank you for that. Let's go on to the difficult one now, 414.
Okay.
Okay, 414, where you're going to go out, first of all, I didn't understand why we didn't go out for an RFP at all. And based on what I just said about 414, it wasn't like the township didn't know that we needed a third party. You had a previous contract. All of a sudden, same people that you were thinking about giving it to want 20 grand from us, 10 grand, 10,000 from another Brick MUA, and they want a new contract with the same kind of clause in here. That just, to me, is a little bit ludicrous. That's number one. Number two, looking at this, prior to the revision, which I just got 5 minutes before the meeting started, so I don't know how you can even base this on. I think you should really hold this, because looking at this, the numbers are blank. So how does the taxpayer, myself, know what we're actually paying? These numbers are blank. They shouldn't be blank. We should have what we're going to pay. Looking into it further, I don't get the big bucks that you guys get up there. So
Is that a
I
joke?
took it upon myself to go to accounts payable. I looked at the bills that we get from Jersey Central Power and Light. I thought we were paying a fixed rate of whatever, that the 9 cents way back when was not such a great deal. The 8.5 was probably a little bit better. I find that not to be true. I'm looking at one of the bills for street lighting, and we're only paying .0633, which is a lot less than 8.5.
I think that the street lighting and building lighting are two separate.
Whatever it is, we're going to be paying a flat fee according to where these little blanks are being
And the
inserted.
electricity from there isn't going to streetlights and such, but I'll let the redevelopment lawyer answer that when you finish your
Okay.
comment.
Again, all of a sudden now we're going to have another one. You're going to take a vote on giving it to one or the other. We're not going to know exactly what it is. You're thinking about giving it to a company who's looking to put their hand in our pocket for $30,000, no matter who, did that. In their actual contract, no, it is in the addendum, it says the seller is acting on behalf of Brick Standard. We're hiring this third party, and they stipulate that their interests are with the guy selling the energy to us. They're not looking out for our best interest. I mean, do I look stupid? I don't think so. So how can you even think about this? And how can you think about giving a blank check? I'm sure Councilwoman Pontorero, being an attorney, if I turned around and went to her and I'm buying a house and said, okay, here's a contract, but you know what, let's leave the numbers blank and let them put in whatever they want to put in later on. I don't think she's going to let me do that. I don't think you should do that without our knowledge. I mean, it just makes common sense, and I would like to know what we're spending and what we're not.
Okay.
And if you can't hold it, and again, I don't want, well, we have to do this.
I think we have your answer,
It-
though.
It's the 11th hour here. We should have done this before.
All right, I'm going to try and, there's a few questions in there, and let me
There's a
begin.
lot.
Yeah, let me first pull, there's more than one contract, and you're confusing a couple of them. So we have existing contracts for the supply of electricity, which we're terminating, and we're paying the fees you described, the $20,000 and $10,000 fee pursuant to existing contracts that have been in place for a long time.
Where is
It's-
that? Where is that contract? I asked all around the building today, and nobody knew where that contract was.
Well, we certainly have it, and we can certainly get it to you. And the calculation is mathematical. It's not, it's easily verified and easily calculated to make sure the number is right, and it's going to be on the day we terminate it. So we don't know the precise number today. It will most likely be lower than those numbers, but it will be a number that's easily calculated, easily proved out at the moment, and it's pursuant to existing contracts that already exist. The new contract we're talking about is not going to one entity, it's going to be bid out to two, and that's the competitive process Mr. Starkey just described to you, where he's going to talk to both of them, get contracts, and pick the lowest, best priced one for Brick.
Mr. Val?
And
Okay, go ahead.
let me walk you through that contract, because it's complicated. When the solar farm is constructed, and to supply power to us, it's not going to match. In other words, it's not going to be supplying power in the exact amounts we need, at the exact times we need it. As you can imagine, for right now, for example, the solar power is not producing power, but we're using it. So this contract requires that there's when we don't have enough power, they go into the market and they buy it. And when there is too much power, they go into the market and sell it. There's not a lot of people that do that. So we're going to talk to the two people that do it, and we're going to get the best price, and we're going to select them. So that's the contract we're talking about, and it's to provide that service. Our third choice, which we chose not to pursue, was for Brick to do it ourselves, because we don't have the expertise. So we had three choices. We considered all three, narrowed it down to two. We're going to take proposals on the two and pick the best price for that last contract we talked about. So the first two contracts, the $20,000 and $10,000, that's already exist. We're just going to comply with those agreements. The number, when we finally know it, will be easily proved out. We can certainly provide it to you how we calculated it. It's math. The new contract, we're going to get the best out of the two proposals because we chose not to do it ourselves. And it all has to get done in time for the system to power up by the pending deadline. So it's not something we can put off any longer.
You're done? Okay.
Did I miss one?
My point is, though, why didn't we do this before? We had an existing contract. Until about, not even an hour ago, there was a revision. The public's entitled to knowledge, and I certainly seek it out. And we were only going to go with this Jersey, South Jersey, whatever. Now, all of a sudden, I propose all of these questions, and I like the fact that we're going to go out competitively. But we should have done this before in case there were more than two. I mean, I don't know how many. It's going to be a small amount of companies, I'm sure, that do this very specific work. But we're picking up the tab. And I didn't even see in here what their fee is going to be. And I didn't like the fact that they were representing Standard LLC more than they were representing us. And they said that in their own contract, in their own addendum. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And part of what Mr. Starkey had said earlier, on drawing up this contract, and the mayor verified it, that, well, we couldn't do certain things. That's why we lost $2,600,000. Well, it seems to me that LOC says, oh, no, you can't do that because it's now a lower rate and it's in my favor. However, oh, you can't change the rate from 8.5 down to whatever we're paying. I'm going to stick with that. And the escalation clause, which I asked about at the last meeting, and again, oh, no, we can't change those. It seems that he changed what he wanted to change, but when it wasn't in his favor, oh, no, you're stuck with that. Again, give me a break. I didn't come in the morning's milk.
Thank you.
I would like you to hold up on that until we get all of the answers. I don't think you should write a blank check.
Ms. Call.
Dan Call, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard, and I'm not so much seeking information as making comments. And I'd rather make them now at this point, since it's about the resolutions, than waste my precious few minutes on public comments. First, I want to echo Councilman Moore's statement about congratulating the mayor and the redevelopment attorneys on, I notice it doesn't say authorize, it says support the termination of the redevelopment. So I think that that's a great thing and that it's good to go. I am going to tie part of my comment into comments regarding the solar field and the energy supply. I don't recall chapter and verse, but I do recall when this was all being hashed out and that there were a few very learned men, it wasn't me, by that one comment, that came up and discussed a lot of these matters. And basically their comments, valid comments as it turns out, were totally ignored and never taken into account, which had to do with the compensation for the solar energy and various items in the contracts and the redeveloper entity. And I would like to say that I haven't found people ignore the comments. I don't necessarily find anything I can say that you actually acted on it. But going forward, keep that in mind, that many of the greatest minds, maybe the people back there who come forward to this microphone, and that no decision should be made in your mind till you hear everybody. And when it comes to the redeveloper for the former Food Town site, number one, I certainly hope, based upon his record, which I mentioned briefly at the last meeting, do not accept anything from him. I'm sorry. There was the Laurelton Mobile Park, and I don't know what happened to it, but I don't see the sign there anymore. And I guess maybe everybody has been displaced, and I know several people that were going through very difficult times. He made promises, he reneged on them, he refused to talk about it in public, talked about it at the caucus meeting in the conference room. It didn't get televised. He's not a good actor. There was also other properties that he did the same thing. And I definitely think he should be off limits for any negotiations. That's what I was going to tie into. You got good commendations. And I'm going to sum it up. Please put the public comments at the end after council, because you make comments and we may have something that at that time we should have the opportunity to offer some possible difference of opinion. You have a duty to listen to some of us. I'm not saying to me. I'm saying to those learned men. For example, Mr. Scott was one of them who cautioned about the price that would be paid on the solar fields and having to do with the redevelopers and the plans. So thank you very much, but I'm very happy with the direction we are moving in.
Thank you. Any other member? Yes, Mr. Jampel. Nice to see you.
See everybody too. Ron Jampel, 66 Bernard Drive. Could I just have a quick explanation? Sorry about that. Can I just have a quick on the grants that are being applied for, specifically 3 through 8, just what the end game is for, if we do get awarded the grants, what are we looking to achieve with those grants?
Number 3 is not a grant, that's the acceptance plan.
No, under
Okay.
number 8.
Oh, number 8.
And then if you go to the resolution, it spells out 1 through
Right.
11. So I'm just 3 through, they're all the same. You don't have to go through each one of those 3 through 8,
Sure.
unless, because if,
I
just,
can read through
what
it,
is the
but you can
aim?
also have the copy of mine if you like. Because you want to know what the grant money is going to?
No, I
on
see
number
what it's
8?
going to.
Oh.
It says an application for instance, number 4, Shore Acres Neighborhood Plan. What does that mean?
Sorry. I didn't
What
see
is the
that.
end game for the Shore Acres Neighborhood
Yeah,
Plan?
is it
What's the
better?
end game for the,
I'm going to let
Yeah.
our business administrator answer that.
I can speak to this in a somewhat generic outline. The plan that was presented to council and the public at our last meeting by CME was the report that the DCA funded for us to put together to talk about how to best plan resiliency steps for, God forbid, another Sandy were to come or any sort of weather event. That plan has been reviewed by DCA and approved, which is fantastic. We're ahead of the curve. We're really the forerunner in terms of getting our reports in and getting them approved. The next step was for us to give the DCA a priority list of the reports that we felt should be done next. And they're in subgroups that are set by the DCA. So we prioritized our list based on the types of things that they'd like to see, which was based on the substance of the CME report. We did the priority list based on the number of reports that we expect that they will fund. So the bottom, it's not necessarily a priority list of what we feel is the most important report to do first. We wanted to put at the bottom the reports that we felt could be managed in-house, because we know we're not going to get the funding for all that entire list that you see on the resolution. But we do feel we'll at least get the first 6 or maybe 7. The DCA requires that those be outsourced. All they require from us at this time is to do a generic scope of work for each one of these grants, which we are working on. The first step was for us to get a resolution approved by the council that we would be applying for these additional funds, which we felt was important to do quickly so they knew what we were coming in with and they could earmark the money for us to do these reports. When the scope of work for each of these is complete, They will be uploaded to the DCA's website. We will use this scope of work to issue an RFP to those on our planning pool. Then we're going to have them come in and interview with us and talk about how they would go about the business of doing these reports, what their strategy is, who they have in the wheelhouse in terms of that planners that would have the specialty in resiliency planning. We'll complete those interviews.
That's good. I think, so the actual dollar amounts that are here is what you're going to look to.
Yes, because
ask
that's
for
the
proposals to come in.
DCA's framework for what they expect to need to fund for each one of these reports.
Okay, okay.
So they pick the dollar amounts.
Perfect, that
Yeah.
answers the question. So, okay. I'll just throw out a suggestion out there, though, is if we can go beyond the pool of engineers that we usually use here in Brick. As a matter of fact, I'm sure people are aware, or maybe some people are not aware, but there are opportunities to do actually not just national but international competitions to try to attract the best and brightest minds who, not saying that our engineers are the best and brightest minds that we hire here, but some people that are that haven't been around here for the last 15 years and have not been able to, not because of a lack of trying, but have been unable to really solve not all the problems, but even some of the problems. And so I would just ask that think beyond just an RFP to get the usual suspects in here to propose to do things, because unfortunately it hasn't really panned out that well for most, if not all, of the areas that are listed. So I would just ask that you try to think about when you get the grants, and hopefully get them all, that you think of a different way to try to solicit
And your
participation.
point is well taken. We don't intend to use any of our engineering firms, nor do we intend to use our typical planner. The DCA required us to do an RFP process for Sandy recovery resiliency planning. And of that process, we created a pool of planning firms that have specific experience in Sandy resiliency planning. And that is the pool that we will be reaching out to, because the DCA has been involved in this process in the beginning and wants to be sure that it's done in a proper fashion to get the best and the brightest who have specific experience in this. So this pool that we will be using was part of an RFP specifically for this type of work.
Does it preclude you from now potentially going back to DCA? And there are a number, I'm sure that there are people out there that didn't see the RFP originally. Does it preclude you from actually now going out and reaching out to universities around the country, internationally, that face flooding situations that we're facing, that perhaps could do more of a competition as opposed to just selecting planning firms that may have responded to the RFQs?
Well, certainly I wouldn't want to speak for mayor and council, but if we go through this process and do the interviews and don't feel that we have the most qualified people at the table, I'm sure there would be some consideration to go back to the DCA and make that request. But would we do that just because? Probably not. We've gone quite a bit of distance with the DCA with getting the right professionals and getting the right process in place. If we had a cause for concern that we didn't have folks at the table that knew that were the best or the brightest, perhaps we'd go back to them, but certainly that would be a setback in our plans, and it would have to be justified.
There's a lot of money here, and all I'm requesting, not an answer, all I'm requesting is for you to consider beyond the folks that may have responded and may have been hired under the RFQ to expand on that pool, because this is not a situation where New Jersey firms to date have really alleviated the situations here. If I can go on now, because she spoke most of the time.
Well, it rang a few minutes ago. Can
Yeah,
we see if anyone else, and then we can bring it back
Yeah,
up?
absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Does anyone else from the public want to be heard on the consent agenda? Look at that, you didn't have to go too far. Another 5 minutes on the clock.
Just a question regarding number 22. Our Mr. Bauman, Joe, how you doing? Good. Just Are legal fees, was legal fees to be covered by the redeveloper in the redevelopment contract, original contract?
They were and have been to date. They may not be in a dispute.
Okay. In generally, not in this specific matter, but in general, if there is a dispute, do council, because I don't think, maybe you can't answer specifically, but generally, if there are if we know who the developer is, pretty sophisticated, pretty deep pockets, would your costs be included in any kind of actions to be taken if they do challenge the mayor's letter?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. And then one final question, just on regarding the solar field project, and Mr. Scott covered a lot of it. Who was it that who represented the township relative to the number sides?
I'm going to let that table over there answer all the questions in regards to the redevelopment this evening.
Someone you may be familiar with, Acacia Financial? You familiar with that?
Okay.
You know,
But
and
do they have a specific expertise in?
then we had
in this
Tom
field?
Bryce from Matrix New World, is an engineer, also has expertise, so it was a combination of those two.
And what type of expertise do they have?
Tom, Solar, Acacia Financial.
Can you get a little bit more specific on Tom? Does he, I mean, what do they normally do?
Matrix New World is an engineering firm that he in particular specializes in solar and renewable energy and SREX and things like that.
So he's involved with sale of SRAX and, or,
That, yeah. And our firm is also experienced in some of those things.
okay. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Scott?
So concentrating on the 414 before, two things. I do want to say thank you to Joanne for a lot of the questions that I had pertaining to a lot of the items that are on here to save time, which she graciously does. With that said, I didn't ask her on 4.4 where we're getting the $3,750,000. I know a lot of work went into that. Where is that in the budget, and does that get allocated specifically according to that grant?
It
The
does.
$3,750,000?
And I'll let her expand on that. Mr. Scott is asking where that $3.75 million goes in our budget.
Yes, we were anticipating receipt of this. We were not able to introduce our budget until we had gotten some preliminary word whether or not this was coming. So this is factored in and as a revenue source for this year to help us offset our lost ratables from Sandy. And we're happy to have it because it's obviously a huge impact on
Oh,
our
so
tax
am I.
rate. Yeah.
Also, for the record, I also asked the business administrator about 4, 6, and 7 with the grants. I didn't get to talk to our assistant planner in reference to this, but Joanne did give me a very suitable answer. The only thing I do want to bring out is that according to one of the grants, there was $78,750,000 in funding available. I didn't think that we asked for enough. In talking to Joanne, the way she explained it to me was that the amounts are kind of based on historical data of what we asked for before. I think we should change our thinking there, just like my grandchildren do. They write a wish list at Christmas, and it starts off at 10 items. Before you know it, there's 20 items on there, and most times they get more than they ask for. And I think in the future, I mean, not to go on, maybe we only got 200 or 300,000. Ask for the whole 500,000. Most they can
See
say
what
is no.
happens?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments about the consent agenda from the public this evening? Seeing none, I will close and go to roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
I know who I'm giving my Christmas list to. Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Momolo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
No as to number 14, yes to the rest.
Vice President Fosman.
Abstain on 413 and 414, and yes to the rest.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 23, bill resolution, computer 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Computer bill resolution in the amount of $2,218,152.14.
Thank you. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. And I will open to council first for questions on the computer bill resolutions.
None.
Mr. Mumler.
Page 15, we had Grand Turk Equipment, diagnose and repair water pump.
I think really we should just blame Glenn. This is,
That's good.
see if he was paying attention. We have a 10-year-old jetvac that basically wasn't functioning. It's our only jetvac, so we had to completely redo the pump. We're also happy to report that we'll be securing another jetvac. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for approving that in the capital request. But the jetvac is an essential piece of equipment for us to do what we do. So this was a major repair to an old piece of equipment.
We use that to clean the sewers, correct?
Correct.
Anything else from council? All right. Moving on to public.
Also note to Councilman Fosman, the MUA was very helpful in lending us their jetvac while this one was down.
Thank you.
It's part of the shared service.
Any questions or comments from the public on the computer bill resolutions? Mr. Scott? What? I'm looking at you. All right, seeing no more for public, we will close public and ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Abstain on New Jersey press media, and yes to the rest.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Abstain on the MUA and yes to the rest.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 24, Bill Resolution Manual 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $1,487,528.28.
Thank you. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Questions from council? Open to public for Manual Bill Resolution 2014. Seeing none, we'll close and ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Abstain township payroll, and yes to the rest.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Okay, this evening, for number 5, we have 2 ordinances on first reading. There is no public hearing on the first reading. Number 1, amend Chapter 233, invasive plants.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to amend Chapter 233 entitled Invasive Plants.
Okay, we've had some issues in the past few years, and some of them are getting more and more serious as time goes on, about invasive plants such as ivy and bamboo. So we really needed to update our ordinance because I don't think it's been updated since it's been written. And the major change is in Section 1, Number A, all new in-ground plantings of invasive plants are strictly prohibited. All existing planting must be contained by appropriate physical barriers to prevent the growth or spread of existing invasive species beyond the boundaries of the resident's property. And that's pretty much the gist of it. It does go on to say, though, there was no time limit in the original ordinance of when that needed to be remediated in case your invasive plant goes onto your neighbor's property and starts destroying their property. You now have 30 days to remediate it. And those are the 2 changes we made. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion?
Second.
Ooh, we're quick on the job. Motion made by Councilman Moore, seconded by Council Vice President Fosman. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Thank you. Number 2, amend Chapter 245, land use.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to amend Chapter 245 entitled Land Use.
Thank you. I'm going to give an explanation, and the people that are rebuilding from Sandy are really going to be the ones to understand the meat of what we are changing in this. There's some technical information in it, but we'll get through it. After Sandy, we revised the height ordinance in the flood hazard area to measure the height of the new or elevated home from the NAVD 1988 datum, which is approximately sea level, which is 45 feet to the peak, 41 to the mean, and 32 to the eave. In addition, a new home was also required to meet new height restrictions measured from the base flood elevation. What we found was that for some locations on the barrier island east of Route 35 North, the property elevations ranged from 10 feet to 17 feet above sea level. So our new ordinance that was supposed to help with the new home elevations was actually more restrictive to the people that were rebuilding, which measures height from average adjacent grade and still pertains to all homes outside of the flood hazard area, which is 38.5 feet to the peak, 35 feet to the mean, and 25 feet to the eave. But it did not comply with the heights measured above the NAVD 1988 datum. So now this revision gives homeowners elevating or rebuilding in a flood hazard area two choices. They can measure their building heights from above the NAVD 1988 datum or from the average adjacent grade, and utilize which is the least restrictive. We also increased the maximum eave height from 25 feet to 26 feet when measuring above the average adjacent grade. If anybody in the audience does have questions, you don't have to wait until the next meeting. You can contact our land use office to get some more background information on this. But please keep in mind, if you are in the middle of building, it does have to go through second reading and then the waiting period for it to take effect.
30 days.
Motion and second?
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Vice President Bosman, seconded by Councilwoman Pontorero. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Bosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 6, ordinances on second reading, and we will have public comment on each 4 ordinances. Number 1, amend Chapter 168, engineering permits and standards.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to amend Chapter 168 entitled Engineering Permits and Standards.
Thank you. Very basic changes except for one major change. If your dock or bulkhead is in disrepair, you must repair it. If it's found to be a nuisance, you have 15 days to demolish it or repair it. If you can't be found, if somebody makes a complaint, your neighbor or so forth, and you can't be found to be issued the complaint, it will be sent by certified mail to the last known address of the person that we know of currently that owns it. And the most important change is under enforcement. Before, it was only the police that were able to come out and issue a summons or a fine. Now, we are changing it to the construction official, the chief of police, and the township engineer or their assigned designee. They will have the jurisdiction to enforce the changes that we're making. One of the reasons why we made this is, A, because code enforcement and the engineer will have more knowledge about what's going on with that bulkhead or dock and how to fix it. And we really don't need to tie up our police department with something like this. They have crime to fight on the streets, and that's definitely more important. Motion and second?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Council Vice President Bosman. And now I'm going to open to public. Mr. Jampel?
Just real quick, did you say that one of the actions is, one of the remedies is to demolish?
Well, if you have a broken dock or bulkhead, you might want to tear it down instead of, either way you're going to have to fix it. And if it's that badly damaged, you're probably going to have to tear it down. Let me read that.
Yeah, because that'll cause more damage.
Let me read that entire part to you.
Yeah.
If a dock or bulkhead is found to constitute a nuisance as aforesaid, the township shall cause to be served on the owner, agent, or person in control of the dock or bulkhead a written notice describing the dock or bulkhead deemed a nuisance and specifying the required repairs or improvements to be made, or requiring said dock or bulkhead or applicable portion thereof to be removed or demolished within 15 days of receipt of notice. And this is what our township engineer has requested.
But if they, They say
Mr.
this is the...
Gentile, I think
you have to
you might be misreading
read
this.
the-
I'm not reading
The-
anything.
What the ordinance, it addresses docks and bulkheads. And what'll happen is the township will go out, and if there's a problem, the township will, it says township may deem necessary to either repair, remove, demolish, or make it safe and secure. I think one of the remedies for a dock that's in disrepair is to remove it. One of the remedies for a bulkhead may not be to remove it. You're right, that may cause more damage. Doesn't give people the right to do whatever they want with their bulkhead, in other words, just demolish it, but to take appropriate steps to remediate the damage or nuisance that's right there.
Can you read it again for me, please?
I'll give you a copy of it here, actually, if you want to.
I'll read fast.
Mr. Jampel, if you like, I can go on to somebody else and call you back up. Sure. Is there anyone else that would like to? Yes, Mr. Branco.
Hi, Dominic Reynolds, 12 Commodore Drive. Council President, for the attorney, the only thing I'm not clear on that is you're not allowed to touch any docks without a DEP permit or bulkheads, and a permit could take 3 to 6 months. That's the only thing I'm not clear. So if something's wrong, what happens? I mean, you can get a $5,000 fine from the DEP if you rip your dock out.
It's one of the reasons we're having the township engineer and construction official participate in the enforcement, not just the police department. They're well aware of those regulations.
Perfect.
And
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you all set, Mr. Jampel? Okay. Would you like to continue in public comment?
Not if you approve this already.
Okay. Well, I do need you to come up to the podium and ask your question, though. Did you want to come back up?
Yeah.
Okay. But I can't put the council meeting on hold. Ms. Call, would you like to come up?
Mr. Champel, the ordinance were published in the newspaper and made available to the public so that we could keep the meeting moving. So I think if you have a comment, it's appropriate to be made now.
This is
Second
Yeah,
reading.
This is second reading.
Second reading.
Second
Yes.
reading.
So, Mr. Jampel, did you want to come back up or no? Sure. Okay. Since this is your second time up, I will need you to restate your name, please.
Sure. Ron Jampel. I'm just trying to make sure that this doesn't cause more damage than...
I mean, it was looked over by our code enforcement and our engineer and the township attorney that covers our land use meetings. I think if there was an issue, they would probably have.
And Mr. Champel, as I said to the prior speaker, one of the reasons we're asking the construction official to be, an engineer to be involved in this is to ensure that the concerns you have are addressed, that more damage is not caused by the repair.
Right, no, I see that now. It says, as the township may deem necessary. So it's up to the township
Yes.
to determine what the remedy is, and I'm
Yeah.
perfectly fine with that. Thank
Okay?
you. Yeah.
All right, great. Any other comments on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'm going to close and go to roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ponterero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Thank you. Number 2, ordinance on second reading, amend Chapter 225, housing standards fees.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 225 of the Township Code of the Township of Brick entitled Housing Standards.
Thank you. And again, this is an ordinance that hasn't been looked at in years and years and years. And what we are doing is changing the fees to be more representative of the surrounding townships and what we feel is a fair fee that covers our expenses to go out and complete these inspections. The owner of the inspected property shall be charged a fee of $100 for the initial inspection for each separate leased or rented unit. A fee of $50 for each separate leased or rented unit re-inspected shall be charged to the owner. Units that are leased or rented on a seasonal basis by the week or month shall require only one inspection at the beginning of the season. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Open to the public. No questions from the public, so roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Abstain?
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance on second reading, authorize acceptance of donation of properties.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, and State of New Jersey authorizing the acceptance of the donation of property for no consideration.
Thank you. These are two properties that are on our list and they are in foreclosure. One is in a marshy area and one we actually own the adjoining property. The two lots and locks are Block 673, Lot 29, Harvey Estate, Block 977, Lot 1, Bancroft Homeowners Association, and we are just wanting to take on this as a donation of property. Motion and second.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman Zapsik. And I'm going to open to the public and council on this. Seeing no comments or questions, I will ask for a roll call, please.
Did you want to open that to the public?
I did.
You did?
I did.
I thought you said council, I apologize. Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry.
Number 4, authorize acceptance of donation of properties.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the acceptance of the donation of property for no consideration.
Thank you. And again, this is a donation of property that are both on our foreclosure list. There are two properties, Block 245.20, Lot 29, Karen B. Laffey, and Block 1025, Lots 5 and 10 of William Rothgen. Motion and second?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Pontorero, seconded by Council Vice President Fosman, and I will open to public. Seeing no comments, I'll go to roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we are moving on to number 7, public comments. Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B. And who would like to be first this evening? Yes, sir.
Stephen Brill, Evergreen Woods. This statement is an answer to a comment made at the last council meeting regarding why members of Evergreen Woods do not present the facts regarding the deleterious effects of parkway air pollution now being experienced by their residents. According to the EO 215 environmental impact statement by the Turnpike, 2 locations were used for ozone monitoring: Monmouth University, West Long Branch, and Collier's Mills Wildlife Management Area in Jackson Township. Particulate matter monitoring was performed at Hooper Avenue School, Toms River. No monitoring was performed at Evergreen Woods or within Brick Township. This following statement is from the article by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 2010. Traffic emissions are highest at the point of release and typically diminish to near background levels within 150 to 300 meters of the roadway. Numerous epidemiological studies have consistently demonstrated that living close to a major road or in areas of high traffic density is associated with adverse health effects, including asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and other respiratory systems. University of Utah, Department of Pediatrics, report entitled Near Highway Pollutants in Motor Vehicle Exhaust by Michelle Hoffman, MD. Ambient air monitoring at residents substantially increases power to detect association of asthma with highway exposures. Clear association between particulate matter and lung cancer in large cohort studies. The EPA, Diesel exhaust is likely to be carcinogenic to humans by inhalation. This was by the American Lung Association, February 2011 report on page 12. Even short-term exposure to particulate matter can kill. Peaks or spikes in particulate matter can last hours to days. These are deaths that would not have occurred if the air were cleaner. That was attributed to the EPA 2009. Individuals who live or work near heavily trafficked roadways or near locations with heavy concentrations of diesel vehicles have the greatest exposure. And this is from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration on December 15, 2009. While barriers block noise and view of hundreds of vehicles whizzing by, we found that they also reduce high concentrations of pollutants from these vehicles by lofting and channeling them away from adjoining areas, often a residential area, said Dennis Finn, lead author and research meteorologist at NOAA's Air Resources Laboratory in Idaho Falls, Idaho. We also found that the barriers tend to trap pollutants in the area of the roadway itself, especially at night in low wind conditions. These are respected, unbiased organizations. I have one other comment. I'd like the council to consider creation of a subcommittee to address the situation that was created by the Parkway construction regarding pollution and noise.
Okay, I will discuss that with the rest of the council members and see if we could put that together.
Okay.
And our business administrator.
I also have the articles if anybody wants to look at it.
Okay, if you have a copy, you're more than welcome to leave it with our council secretary.
I'll deliver copies.
Oh, fantastic. You can leave it with her and she'll
Well,
distribute it to
I
us.
haven't got it with me right now.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Scott.
George Scott, 16 Queen Anne Road. Again, here we are, night of September 23rd. I feel bad that what happened tonight here, we had a previous contract, regarding this energy situation, come out at the 11th hour, put something on an hour before. I don't even know how you had time to look at it. And then not to have any numbers inserted. I'm going to applaud Councilwoman Pontorero for voting no. I think that was the right vote. As far as Councilman Fosman is concerned, recusing himself because the MUA was involved, but you should have recused yourself on 15 because they were involved with that also, so you might want to do that before the night is over. It amazes me that a project that's going to last 25 to 30 years didn't have anybody up here questioning it. I'm willing to bet next year at this time, we're going to have new faces here, we're going to have people's pictures in the paper, flyers going around, ringing doorbells, telling us how wonderful they're going to change things, and they're looking out for the interest of the taxpayer, but I didn't see any of that here tonight, and this is something that's going to last for a very long time. They had, everybody has their opportunity to speak, of which I certainly take mine. I'm very disappointed with everybody going down the line and really not doing anything about this, and when it comes up again, seeing what the actual numbers are, this deal was a bad deal all the way around, and I think a lot of us will admit that. The other thing I want to bring out to the mayor is I am a volunteer. I serve on his property maintenance board. Again, September's meeting was canceled. Nothing gets done, in my opinion. I have a house on my block, which I would recuse myself if it ever did come up, empty 5.5 years. I mean, that's only one that I know of. The things that come before that board are 6 years, 7 years, no meetings happen, it just goes on, excuse after excuse after excuse. I mean, that's not the way to get things done. Somebody would have, looked to see what's going on and really get things moving in the right direction. You passed ordinances about vacant properties and whatnot, haven't heard anything about that. Where is that going? Nothing, and we're several months into it. So, you try to prepare the tools for people to do things, and then nothing happens. So I don't see any changes. Thanks.
Thank you. Michelle, Ms. Spector?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle from Evergreen Woods.
We went to the Turnpike Authority meeting, the commissioners' meeting, and we kind of lucked out because the Star Ledger was there, so they couldn't make any sarcastic remarks under their breath after we spoke. And what we did was, last time we were there, they gave their usual propaganda spiel about why they can't do anything, why we don't qualify. So what we did is we dug in and we found their facts, and we used their facts to debunk everything that they said. So that's what we did. Stephen and I went there today. And so the Star Ledger took our contact information, and they're going to be calling us, because we said we have a lot more information than we were able to cover in 3 speedy minutes. So, and we just debunked a lot of different things. The fact that there was a combined permit, and there were 2 different construction projects. There was the widening and the basin is considered one, and yet they were permitted and reviewed separately. That was one. Our issues with the decibel levels. Stephen read the report, and they still didn't comment on that, but it's made part of their minutes. I'm sorry, I'm talking backwards here. I'm talking dyslexic backwards. Sorry about that. And I also mentioned that the Chapter 79, when the Highway Authority, the old Highway Authority gave way to the Turnpike Authority, that they actually turned part of the shoulder into the road, so the road was moved back to us from that time. So I remind them of that fact, that they vertically altered the road and brought the noise closer to us. And then, let me see, we talked about the noise reduction pavement, how it's very short-lived and it only reduces it 3 to 5 decibels, which doesn't take into account other issues. Let's see. And then we mentioned the health effects that everybody was having, and we mentioned that there was actually a little boy that was having issues with asthma, and that we would like to be able to tell the mother that their son doesn't have to wait a whole year for them to install a wall and has to put up with being miserable for another year, going through asthma treatments like 3 times a week. So I tried to make them feel guilty. They were all squirming in their seat, which was good. And so I think it was a success. I forwarded an email to the administrator's office with facts. I talked to you last time about if you could make another letter to them explaining why we do deserve a wall, because we backed all these facts up. If you could just write another letter, this is why that we qualify. I sent you an email.
I didn't get that email.
I sent it late today, so you might not have gotten it.
Okay.
Okay, okay. And I also forwarded you an email about, there was a legal notice in the paper that the Turnpike Authority was going to be spraying herbicide along the main line. And there are a lot of communities that are exposed now, so that might be a health risk, especially for children. And I sent you that also. It was a legal notice. I was looking for something else, and I found that. And let me see what else. So I would say that the meeting today at the Turnpike Authority was pretty successful. We'll see if anything happens with the Star Ledger. We hope so. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we just pointed out all their errors, the downward slope in the clear zone. I mean, we just rattled everything off. So we pretty much nailed it. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your help.
Thank you for your update. Mr. Slunka? Yes.
Council President, before Mr. Sluk gets up there, I would like to abstain on 415 for the energy. One of the energy companies is with the MUA.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court in Brick. My letter. Mayor John Ducey, Council President Susan Lydecker, and all the other members of the council. This was my letter of September 10th. I wrote it. I try to let everyone know how I honestly stand on things and will continue to come to the council meetings with my concerns related to the pollution and the noise of the Garden State Parkway. The Turnpike Authority has announced that they will be working around exit 91 for approximately the next 2 to 3 years. For me, this means I'll be trying to be at the next 150 Brick Council meetings, and by so doing, I can hopefully keep the council and normal caring citizens of Brick abreast of what impacts the diesel pollution is doing to our children and seniors. For those doubting Thomases of the world at the NJTA that can't understand how diesel fumes are killing our children and our seniors, stick your hands in their lungs and see it. Take an x-ray, take a look. It's pretty much what I wrote. These children are being damaged daily, not over time, daily, every day, and lungs don't get better. They just continue to get worse. I mentioned somebody before, my father died 2 years of coughing and choking and everything else when cigarette was not a problem when he was young. So same type of thing. Okay, so these studies are done. Studies about diesel pollution. I had put them in before about the Internal Agency for Research on Cancer, the National Toxicology Program, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the American Cancer Society all classify diesel exhaust as carcinogenic to humans, and thus you can understand how the temperature is basically killing all of us Brick residents, not just the ones in Evergreen Woods, everybody. This pollution flows over everybody. Diesel exhaust plays a role in the health problems such as eye irritations, headaches, asthma, lung disease, and heart disease, immune system problems. And if you look into the school absences and the amount of kids that actually have to go in with inhalers and stuff like that, you'll see why our children don't learn. Trucks are not allowed on the parkway above exit 105, but are allowed to dump the diesel fuel exhaust on the residents of southern Monmouth County, Ocean County, and Atlantic County. The truck rule came into place when the Garden State Parkway was 2 lanes in each direction south of exit 105, and the Garden State Parkway was lined by hundreds of thousands of trees. The commissioners of the parkway at that time did not anticipate the growing volumes of traffic and the increased truck traffic to the low end of the state, so they did not take measures needed to ensure the safety of New Jersey's residents. With the growth of the parkway roadway and the doubling of vehicle traffic, now on a parkway, the health of the state's residents need to be addressed before the health of the residents are further damaged. We can't seem to force the NJTA to do the right thing immediately, but we can find alternative ways of doing things that give the residents a fraction of the much needed aid in their plight. The township mayor, council, and pretty much everybody else seems to be firmly behind the residents and have stated so often. The Attorney General of the state has not yet allowed these trees to be built using the no-let-loss provision by the township. Along with the town planner, though, the town engineer and other local officials, various ways can circumnavigate this legalese associated with the big government projects. I hope by the next council meeting on September 23rd, the township group could meet and determine ways to work around the problems created by the wording and understandings set forth by this big government agency. We need to continue to pressure the NJTA commissioners to step in and change the wording on their documents and rules before they send many more children to the doctor's office and kill off our seniors with lung disease, heart ailments, and premature death. A pollution and sound wall is necessary and will provide a major relief to the residents, but these are small steps that the township can probably do to eliminate some of that problem currently, while that is still in the works. I hope that the township can formulate some ideas and put some wheels in motion to correct the problem that the NJTA caused, and even before the average regular citizens. Council members investigate and act upon situations to band together, to put the band of the township high school bands in a very short period of time, and we're able to do something and work things out. I'm sure they could find a way if they get together and actually do something in a very short time for the residents that are being killed by the turnpike. I believe with the various experience of the mayor, council, township, and everybody else, the generated in a short period plans can be made to give solace to these citizens. Thank you. Yield back 3 seconds.
Thank you.
Close.
It was close. Any other member of the public wish to be heard during the public comment portion of our meeting? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment and move on to council comments, beginning with our mayor's table. Do we need that 5-minute clock?
Start the clock. Update on Route 35, it's going to be closed down to one lane in each direction. It's probably going to be like that through most, if not all, of the winter. So just be prepared when you're going over that way. Senior Services, they're requesting grocery store gift cards for seniors in the community in need of assistance. You can mail or drop them off at our Senior Services down at the VFW. Or for more information, call 732-920-8686. Some upcoming events. We have a representative from Senator Cory Booker's office. He or she will be in Town Hall on Thursday, September 25th from 2 to 4 to answer residents' questions and concerns. We have a craft fair and township-wide yard sale this Saturday, the 27th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Windward. Tuesday, October 14th, the DCA will be hosting an informational session on the RREM program from 3 to 7 at the Civic Center, and they're going to assist the residents through the process. Also, on October 14th, from 6 to 8, in conjunction with the DCA's program, we're going to be hosting the Mayor's In Night that night, so please come to Civic Center. We'll have the department heads there. And then finally, Bricktoberfest, Saturday the 18th, there is a 5K race. There's actually a kids race, which is a 100-yard dash. There's a 1-mile fun run. There's also a 5K race. That's all in the morning from 8 through 8:30 is when the 5K starts. And there's a mayor's challenge with part of that, meaning anybody who finishes the race before me, I'm donating $5 of my own money towards POAC, which is Parents of Autistic Children. So the more people in the race, the better. It will be for the charity, because I'm not that fast.
You might have a couple obstacles.
And then after that, from 11 to, after the 5K, you can relax from 11 to 5. We have rides, airplane rides for the kids. There's a climbing wall, bouncy houses. There's the beer and wine garden for the Oktoberfest part of the Bricktoberfest. We also have food trucks, and the food trucks include not only the empanada guy who has a TV show out there, but also the original Soup Man. And if anybody has watched Seinfeld in the past, the Soup Nazi, the original Soup Man is what the Soup Nazi was based upon. So that's 2 out of the 20 or so trucks we're going to have out there. So they're kind of famous trucks. They're not just the run-of-the-mill stuff. It's going to be top quality. And then lastly, just going back to the obviously the solar deal, we've been talking about it a lot. The deal was done long ago. So when somebody says they changed this but didn't change that, we were lucky they changed anything, because the deal was signed by the former mayor. In 2012, we tried to better that deal. The mayor at the time didn't sign the deal. So all we had is me signing it in 2014, 18 months later, to use as some leverage to say, hey, can you make some improvements to this thing, because it's not a good deal. And our people did as much as they could, but it's not worth a legal battle. We would have lost, if we would have tried to say, no, the one that I signed in 2014 was the actual deal, we probably, most likely, probably almost definitely would have lost that in a legal challenge. So why would we go down that road and have all that legal expense? So the fact that they changed anything is just credit to our redevelopment attorneys who were working on it. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Starkey? Ladies?
I wanted to ask the mayor if he was going to report out on the note sale, or... Thank you.
Yes. All right. The note sale. I wasn't on the agenda. I didn't realize it was council. Mayor comments. Okay. The Series 2014A. Name of bidder was FTN Financial Capital Markets. The true interest rate is 1.579984%. The amount of bonds bid for was $10,884,000. The amount of the bid was $11,749,761.30. And the premium is $865,761.30. And for the Series 2014B, the name of the bidder was BMO Capital Markets. The true interest rate was 3.241350%. The amount of bonds bid for was $23,650,000. The amount bid was $23,695,399.31. And the premium on that one was $45,399.31. Thank you for the reminder.
Yep, thank you. I didn't have anything else.
Okay. Councilman Moore?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. First of all, thank you for everybody coming out this evening. We had the Dog Fest by the Rotary Club over the weekend. It was a great success. I think it was a total of a little over 300 dogs and their owners, and it was very amusing. So a great time. This Saturday is our 10th year anniversary for the reservoir. Ceremony begins, I believe, at 9:30. So I hope everybody can make it out there because it's a nice feature that we have. Once again, as a friendly reminder, give yourself an extra couple minutes in the morning to our children getting on the school buses. And also another friendly reminder, as a first responder, I will thrive on this a lot. Your house numbers are very important for us. So make sure they're not hidden by shrubs or they're losing numbers. It's very important for us as a first responder that your house number is very visible from the street. Other than that, please have a good night and drive safe. Thank you.
I actually just bought new house numbers for my house, so
There
thank
you
you.
go. Thank you.
This past weekend, I went to Kite Fest, which was awesome. Recreation does a really great job putting that on for all the kids. I saw Councilwoman Ponterero's kite was extremely high, and she ran out of string at one point. So it was fun to watch her and her family. I'd also like to congratulate Councilwoman Ponterero. Her dog Louie. At Dog Fest won most colorful, and if you've seen pictures of him, it's on the front page of the Shore Beat. Danny, thank you. He is rainbow, very cute. We love Louie, but myself and my dog Dagny enjoyed ourselves immensely. She was very tired when she got home. Also, awesome job to Councilwoman Zapsik. I know she's going to mention about the Kaboom build that we had a couple weekends ago. It was a really great time and a really great community turnout, and I just want to thank everybody who turned out, and I think I'm going to give MVP to the Chief and Councilman Mumolo, and everything is very level there, so there will be no problems with that playground. I also want to thank our auditors. They've done a great job, and I want to thank our township employees for only having one recommendation that, of course, we heard before is just carried over because of the grants. One last thing, the mayor, I'd like to say great job for the mayor and administration, Mr. Starkey, and our redevelopment attorneys for all of their hard work on our solar field project and the Food Town site. I think it's easy for us to criticize and question their work that they've been working diligently on when we have, as a council and mayor, have been given bad contracts that were entered into by the previous administration. And I'm very happy that in just 9 months since Mayor Ducey became mayor, that we've been able to make such progress and keep the projects moving in the best possible light that would help and keep costs low for our residents. So thank you for that. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Thank you. I would like to reiterate what Councilwoman DeYoung said about the Kaboom Build Day, our handy-capable playground at Windward Beach. I'd say, Joanne's, we're about 90%. We were there, stuff there.
Yeah, it looks great.
Sunday, and I think we're just missing the fencing and the swings. We're not, that's tomorrow? Wonderful. Again, Chief Councilman Mamalo, you guys were warriors. I know we'd probably still be out there if it wasn't for you. But I'd like to thank the rec department for putting together a beautiful day, all the volunteers that came out, volunteers from POAC and SEPTA, and the Brick Memorial High School boys soccer team, who also came out and helped with Kite Fest. So kudos to those young men and their coach and their team mom for organizing them to come out and help us with two community programs. I also want to report that on September 15th, we had our first new BMAC golf outing, which was a success. It was very well attended. I believe we met our financial goals for the event, which is great. We really have a leg up for getting BMAC up and running again. And I want to thank Madeline Iannarone for her work in the record department on that, and volunteer Mindy Murray, who came out and helped a lot. She recruited a couple of her friends to come out, so it was a great day. And tomorrow night at the Civic Plaza, 7 p.m., Sentimental Journey Big Band. Please come out. I just can't say enough about them. They're a great entertainment. They put on a wonderful show, and I think everyone will enjoy it. So 7 p.m. tomorrow night at the Civic Plaza. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And I would like to thank you for clearing up, it's not Journey reminiscent of the band. Because I did not know that. Councilman?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the mayor and council members that came out helping the Kaboom build. The chief, we did a great job, worked together. Everybody worked together really well. Township employees showed up. We had a great turnout from different sports leagues in the town. A tremendous amount of volunteers came out. So it was a really good day until the rain started, but we were 99% done when it started to rain. I'd like to address Mr. Scott. With regards to the solar field, we're doing the best we have with a bad situation. We have to rely on our professionals and trust them for putting us in the right direction, what we got stuck with. So it's something that we're stuck in, and we're trying to do the best for the town with this. With regards to abandoned property, it's a major concern of the town. Banks that own these houses, if you ever try to get in touch with them, they don't answer you. You'll be pleasantly surprised on certain things that we're working on and should be enacted by the end of the year that will help with that, because we have a tremendous amount of vacant homes that are getting run down, and we don't have the proper people to contact, and it's almost impossible to get those people to contact. So you'll be happy with that type of stuff. Just cool weather's coming, unfortunately, and make sure everybody's chimneys and their fireplaces in their house are clean. Don't want any chimney fires. Mr. Moore will back me up on that one. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Young, for her kind words about my precious puppy, Louie. And I just wanted to point out that it was pet-friendly and pet-safe dye that my son and I used to dye my dog. And I started dyeing my dog different colors as a way to get my children involved with the grooming of an animal. It's not just enough to adopt an animal, but you have to be able to take care of it as well. So that was the reason that I started coloring Louie, and it's really caught on. And I was very pleasantly surprised to meet Daniel Nee, who showed up at the event. I really want to thank the Rotary Club who sponsored Dog Fest. We had a great turnout. I think everyone had a great deal of fun at the event. Next, I really want to applaud our mayor for not only taking the position that he's taken at this point about the Food Town website, but also council for doing the due diligence that was necessary. This just couldn't have been done month 1 or month 2. It took a lot of work and it took a lot of effort, and I really want to recognize, and I know our council supports your efforts, and I want the town to support our mayor's efforts for getting rid of this and terminating this redevelopment agreement of former Food Town site. This is a long time in coming, and our mayor has worked diligently from day one when he stepped into office on doing something finally with this site. So I really want to applaud his efforts and the efforts of our council. So thank you so much. I had the pleasure of attending the Board of Education meeting last week, and I was very well received at the Board of Education meeting. I was really there to talk about the 3 committees that we're going to be starting in Brick. The first being the Disabled Persons of Brick Committee, where we're going to be hearing from our citizens about everyday problems and challenges that hopefully we can correct as a township for them. We're also going to be starting the Senior Action Committee, not to be confused with the Mayor's Senior Advisory Committee, 2 different things. This is going to be the spot we're going to be talking about the bylaw reformation and other projects that seniors are going to be doing in town. Last, we're going to be doing a Youth Mentoring Committee where every council person is going to be given a high school senior to mentor, breaking it down into 2 sessions, one for the fall, one for the spring. I spent about an hour speaking to Dr. Uzinski, our superintendent, about the feasibility of this program. He was fully behind it. They're going to get us an advisor, and this program should be starting very, very soon. So we're all very excited about that. And all of the Board of Education members were fully behind each of these 3 committees and promised to lend their help and services where necessary so that the kids can get credits if they need to get credits for it, that they have an advisor who will take care of that end of it. Also, Dr. Uzinski indicated that he would work with us on the township to expand the services that are offered to our senior citizens in terms of technology training. This is something that we had discussed in the Senior Advisory Committee. I had the occasion again to speak to him at length about it, and he's assured me that we're going to be doing more to get more volunteers so that all of our seniors can be able to communicate in the way that's most preferred, it seems nowadays, which is online. I also wanted to take a moment to tell everyone about Harbor House is sponsoring a 5K run. This is going to be on November 1st. That's All Saints Day, 2014. I am seeking to sponsor a group of runners who would like, because I am certainly not running, although you couldn't tell that with my dancer's figure. But this, if anyone's not familiar with Harbor House, we take in homeless and abused youth. I serve on the board of directors. Please, if anyone's interested, you can contact me through my email website, which is available online. I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention, council and the mayor, we received a letter from a concerned grandpa named Dennis McBride about his 3-year-old grandson. This is 3-year-old grandson who's suffering from a very rare form of childhood cancer. He has stage 3 Burkitt's lymphoma. They found a massive tumor in his abdominal cavity on June 11, 2014. He's being treated at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Mr. McBride lives at Greenbrier 1, so he's one of our residents. His daughter, Angelo's mother, is 8 months pregnant and dealing with this issue with her son. They're asking for donations to help little Angelo beat his cancer. We're going to be posting on our website the link so that you can, if you're willing and able to donate to little Angelo. I know you probably can't see his face from this beat up piece of paper I have, but hopefully on the website it comes a lot clearer. But this is one of our residents, and it's always been my hope and intention that the more that we do for others, the more that we can expect to receive. And this is one of our tiniest residents who needs all the help that he can get. So if you have any inclination toward giving, the website will have the information when I'd ask that you please consider donating. I know I'm taking a little bit too much time, but I just have, sorry, one more issue. I wanted to talk about how wonderfully attended Kite Fest was. We had over 200 people there at one point. All of our family community events have been very well received, and I want more families to take advantage of these events, which are free or very minimal charge. I bring my children to all the events, and we always have a blast. Everybody talks about how expensive it is nowadays to do things. These are things that our town is giving and services that are being given. Please take advantage of these things, including the yard sale, because I'm going to the yard sale. I need stuff. Support the things that we're doing, because the more that you support what we're doing, the more we're going to be able to do for you. Have a great night.
Excuse me, I'd like to make one comment. I believe your dog matched the flyer for the 5K run.
My dog did match the flyer. If you look on Shore Beat, he is the first dog that's shown. It did take about 4.5 hours to dye him. Yes, he is. He loved every minute. Don't be fooled. Thank you again. Have a good night.
Thanks, Vice President.
I'd just like to say I was at the Kaboom working with Paul. I was the level guy, make sure everything was level. That's as far as I can do on that. I'd just like to bring up a little bit about recycling here. Trish Tesoro is our recycling coordinator, and she did recently go out to the county and had a meeting with Joe Davis. He's from the DEP, and he did the presentation. There was a mistake made in the amount of money she was asking for. We received $96,000, but Trish put in for more money, and she was able to prove to them that we would get $120,000. So $120,000 was approved, so we got another about $23,000 more. I'd just like to say about the recycling too, please, no plastic bags in the recycling cans. That's the biggest problem we have in town. But just to let everybody know again out there, it's aluminum cans, glass, tin cans, newspapers, junk mail, magazines, corrugated cardboard, plastic bottles with necks smaller than the body. That's all we want in those recycling cans. Of course, you know, you can put your magazines, your newspapers, all that stuff in there. That's all I have tonight. Thank you. Thank everybody for coming out.
Pizza boxes count, right?
No.
No.
No pizza boxes.
Learn something new every time I bring that
It's the
up.
corrugated cardboard with the little holes in it, something thick cardboard, that's the one.
Okay.
I failed.
I do want to thank our redevelopment attorney, Joe Bauman, for coming out. We did make a pledge, since we all came up here as one entity, that we would be as transparent as possible. And we have many concerned residents ask us questions, and unfortunately, you've received the same answer. There's nothing we can tell you right now. Thankfully, wheels are in motion, and we thank you for coming out today for step number 1 of enlightening our public of what is going on with this site. So thank you very much. I think you answered quite a few questions, especially everything we covered on the agenda this evening, and we look forward to having you back for the next phase. Our next council meeting is October 7th, right here at 7 o'clock sharp. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting closed.